I'm here at the overseas call centre of a large insurance company. With me is customer service team leader Mr. Bolte. Mr. Bolte, how easy is it to provide great insurance service to your customers?
Well, we're on another continent. You can never get through. We've no idea who you are, and we're only allowed to work from a script with the information on the screen in front of us. Frankly, you'd be better with High House.
High House Insurance, your local experts. High House Insurance don't pay to be on comparison websites, so your premiums are better value. For a free, no-obligation quote, call Selsey 606 552. High House, local, reliable insurance. High Street, Selsey.
Hi and welcome once again to Selsey Internet Radio. And in the studio, as always, first thing this morning is the lovely Lynn Reeve, our own little sunbeam, who's going to tell us what's on for the coming week. Lynn, good morning.
Good morning, Keith. Little sunbeam. I've been called lots of things, but little sunbeam, well, you know. I quite like that. That's quite nice. Thank you.
I don't feel threatened now, though.
No, don't. On Monday the 29th of June, we're going to start off with that, with some Selsey basketball. And the times for that, ages 7 to 11 at 5 o'clock and age 12 plus at 6 o'clock. So that's the Selsey basketball times. And adults meet on Thursdays from 7 o'clock, and this all takes place in the Academy Sports Hall.
Time they get round to my age group, it'll be about midnight.
I don't think they have one for your age group. They wouldn't be able to have enough first aiders on site, would they? Anyway, that's the Selsey basketball thing. On Monday the 29th of June again, there's a pie and a pint night at the Seal Hotel in Hillfield Road. We don't have much more information on that, but a pie and a pint speaks for itself, really,
Absolutely.
doesn't it?
Yes,
It'd
indeed.
be lovely at the Seal Hotel in Hillfield Road. On Wednesday the 1st of July, the ladies cricket team meet at 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock at the cricket club. Ladies cricket, go and get involved with that. I suppose it depends which end of the wicket you're batting from, doesn't it? But ladies cricket meets at 7 till 9 p.m. All Scouts then, there's some Scouts details here for the scouting groups in Selsey, and they're all held in the Scout Hall in School Lane. So from Tuesday, the Cubs meet at 6:15 to 7:45 p.m. So that's on a Tuesday. On a Wednesday, the Scouts meet from 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock. And on Thursday, the Beavers meet from 5 o'clock till 6:15. I don't have any age on that. Are the Beavers higher than the Scouts, or the Beavers younger than the Cubs?
The Beavers are youngest.
Young ones, the little ones. So the little ones then from Thursdays from 5 to 6:15. The Cubs from 6:15 to 7:45 on a Tuesday. And the Scouts from 7 till 9 on a Wednesday. The group Scout leader is Debs Clothier, and you can ring her on 07872 491 901 if you want your little one to join. On Friday the 3rd of July, the Friends of Medbury School hold their summer fair reggae night at the Selsey Football Club from 8 o'clock till midnight. Ooh, we're getting late in Selsey. Adults entry is £7 and children for £3. And if you like a bit of reggae, get along there. Friday the 3rd of July.
That's the day after my birthday.
Is it? Well, you could
I
go
should
along there.
Still be sobering up, I would think, by then.
Ah, yeah. Really wouldn't feel like a bit of reggae, would you then?
No. Too much synatogen. No good for you.
You keep on about your age, Keith, this morning.
Yeah, I'm feeling
decrepit?
old and decrepit today.
Oh, you poor thing. Yeah. What with your sciatica and your bad back?
That's right, yeah.
On
that
Saturday...
Dennis started that.
Dennis has got a bad back as well, I hear. Yeah,
he's joined the old folks club
In fact,
as well.
we're all getting quite old, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm getting old as well, Dennis. Yeah, I am. Oh, John, he's gone to sleep over there. On Saturday the 4th of July, Siddlesham School at the bottom end of Keenall Lane are having a summertime fair event from 2 o'clock to 4 p.m. That sounds like a bit of a fate thing going on there. Sounds quite good. And on both Saturday the 4th of July and Sunday the 5th of July, I can't believe that we're into July now, or nearly. For those garden lovers out there, there will be an open gardens day taking place at the Birches in 19 Selsey Road, Siddlesham. It says, look out for the Trojan Timber Directions Board, and the garden incorporates colour with coordinate beds of grasses and herbaceous perennials, and has been planted with wildlife in mind. There is also a pond and beehives, and refreshment will be available. The entrance fee is just £3 with proceeds donated to St Wilfrid's Hospice, and it's well worth a visit. I remember a few years ago, about 9 years ago, when I first came to Selsey, in the park down by the Selsey Centre there. They made some some bits of grass there, especially for the wildflowers. And I think it was the only place in Selsey where you could actually see the wildflowers going. And they were beautiful. They really did come up well. They don't do enough of that, do we, really?
I noticed they've left a lot of the verges this year.
Yeah.
They've only cut just a small part of the verge and left the rest of it going. It's probably due to cutbacks and nothing to do.
I'm sure it
nothing
is.
at all to do
Well,
with wildlife.
We can say
Of course
it's for the
will.
wildflowers. Yeah, we can, yeah. On Sunday the 5th of July then, on Selsey and District Carers car boot sale from 7:30 to 1 o'clock at the Academy in School Lane, with weather permitting. Let's wish for some sunshine there. Looking a little ahead then to Tuesday the 7th of July, the Writers' Circle meet at the Selsey Club in Cox's Road at 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. So you can contact either Alex Palmer on 606 591 or our own other little sunbeam, Pat Reed, on 601 550 for any further information.
Two sunbeams.
Two
We should call
sunbeams.
this Sunbeam Radio.
We should do. That would be a good name. And that's all for this week. Ken.
Well, thank you very much as always, Lynn.
Thank you.
And my next guest today is Mike Nichols, and Mike's going to update us on the project known as the Bridge. Mike.
Good morning. On a beautiful day. I'm not sure that everyone will be aware what the bridge is. So just a little bit of background. It is a youth support centre now set up on the eastern side of the Academy School in what was an old caretaker's bungalow. It was made available to the Youth Dream charity about 3 months ago, and we've been operating from there for the last 10 weeks. It's a very nice setting, as you can guess. Being an old house, it's got sort of kitchen facilities. It's got 4 rooms that we use for counselling, office space, community meetings and group work with the young people. And the whole aim of the support centre is literally to support teenagers when they go through some difficult periods, some of which may be just to do with low self-esteem and low confidence. Sometimes it's relationships, sometimes it can be more harmful things going on in their lives, and through various means we try and support them and bring them through these times into a better situation.
Well, I mean, I'm surprised, to be honest, that the youngsters use the place like that. But it just shows you the change in times, because when I was at school, if I had a problem, I was, the teacher certainly didn't want to know. And if I went to my dad, he said, well, you're old enough, get yourself together, sort it out. And that was it. Now, because they've got somewhere to go. And it's good. I think it's great. They've got somebody that they can turn to. Do they use it very much? I mean,
yeah, since we opened, we've had about 650 people through, and we support between 30 and 40 young people a week in different ways.
That's incredible. That's an incredible amount of youngsters having to feeling that they've got the need to come to you and discuss problems. Or 600 and odd in just a few weeks that you've been open. So that's an awful lot of youngsters coming through.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are formal settings where we set up groups and the young people enjoy being together, and they can do various bits of work that are about their social education and some of the nitty-gritty things of their lives. We also help quite a lot of parents who occasionally go through patches where they find it difficult to relate to their teenage children, and of course sometimes the teenage children relate in difficulty with their parents, and we help
been going on since
in those kind of ways. Yeah, I mean, I think the truth is really we live in a generation that is much more willing to face up to the fact that there are issues going on and problems needing to be sorted, and often they can be assisted in resolution by outside help, and that's the kind of support that we're trying to give. I think the other thing to bear in mind is that because there are facilities these days like the Snack Shack drop-in, where you can often have nearly 100 young people on a Monday or Tuesday night going through there, and in that informal setting they will very often share things that are going on in their lives, and then in a way at the bridge we're able to pick those things up and try and find solutions to the problems that they identify.
I mean, I think it's fantastic that these youngsters are coming forward and feel confident enough to come forward and say, look, I've got a problem or something that I'd like to discuss. I'm not getting on well with my dad or whatever. It's usually if I look back on my life and think what I was like when I was 14, 15, 16 years old, I must have been something of a handful.
I could never believe that, Keith, but you say it. I mean, the other thing to say is that the work we do is not simply about kind of harm reduction or problem solving. Sometimes we offer mentoring to young people to try and raise the bar, because they're young people with a lot of ability, but they don't always have the confidence to realise it or to sort of aim high in a way. So it's not just about resolving negative things, if I can put it that way, but trying to have a positive input to, develop confidence and aspiration and ambition in the right kind of way.
Do you find that any of that sort of lack of confidence comes from not being understood by the parents? The parents say, oh, don't keep on, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't get involved with that. Don't let me catch you doing this. Because I know, I hear it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be fair, these days, just living is a challenge for anyone. When you've got a family, just bringing in the money, putting the food on the table, providing, the home life, those kind of things, just living is a challenge. And sometimes within a home environment, and indeed within a teaching environment where, teachers are mainly concerned about getting the grades and the standards, those kind of things, there isn't the time to talk about some of the deeper issues that are going on, and indeed some of the personal things that are going on. But of course what happens is that some of those personal things get in the way of the education. They get in the way of the concentration, the ability to do homework, those kind of things. And it's trying to link those things together. So sometimes we find at the bridge at a break time, we just get half a dozen young people turn up and say, right, we've had a row and we need to sort this out before we go into class. And so we have 20 minutes of conflict resolution on the hoof. And of course sometimes it's girls complaining about the actions of boys, and occasionally it's boys complaining about the actions of girls. So, it's a whole gamut of things that are about what real life is about.
To say, for me, to get youngsters talking, you're doing a remarkable job, because it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. They don't readily come forward to older people and say, well, I've got a problem. I'm talking to that old bloke about it, that sort of attitude. And I think it takes very special people to deal with that, to gain their confidence and of course to come up with the right answers.
Yeah, I mean, partly it's about building relationships. There are some of us that they know as granddad rather than anything else. I think generally it's about having time to listen to them and just sort of build the sense of friendship. But it also helps in a different way. I mean, one of the things we're developing for the new term in September is a positive mentoring scheme where we're trying to pair up some of the leavers, as they will be next year, with people from the community who've had success in particular professions, to try and help some of our young people locally to sort of raise the bar in terms of what they might aspire to, might want to be, give them a sense of direction. And that might be practically helping them with a CV or a college application, but it might be also getting them a little bit of holiday work experience in a place where they wouldn't normally have gone, to get an insight into what that profession or job might be like for them in the future. And it's about sowing these sort of seeds for the future. The other thing I think to say is that during the summer holiday, which is 7 weeks this year, it's quite a long period, we are aiming to run something every day for young people in Selsey, and make sure that their parents can't complain that there's nothing to do. So it's all about fun as well as about the more serious stuff that we try and support with.
Yeah, I think the youngsters in Selsey, during the day there's always something for them to do. There's the skate park. I know they can't all do that and they're not all interested in that. And there's the beach and there's all manner of stuff going on. In the evenings, of course, that's not the case. There's very little for them to do, and you can understand when they start getting bored and start going into their bedrooms and turning on PS4s or whatever and disappearing forever.
I mean, a lot of them enjoy doing that, and that's one of the characteristics, actually, of today's teenagers, isn't it? They do spend a lot of time on their own, but they're communicating with their friends by Facebook and, you know, in different kind of ways. There are also quite a lot of these summer evenings when you can find informal games going on at the oval field or on the recreation ground. And of course, in August, as part of the festival, quite a lot of young people will be taking part in productions like Grease and other arts events, as well as sports events, you know, those kind of things.
Yes, I
so
know.
they do contribute a great deal in different ways.
I know some of them that are taking part in Greece. It'll be a fantastic show. I've no doubt about that at all. Well worth a visit. And you're right, they can get involved with that. You know, there are quite a few things that they can get involved with, I suppose. Evenings, you know, I'm thinking about more of the 15, 16-year-olds that perhaps don't want to get involved with things that are run by old fossils.
Well, that's probably true, but I mean, that's why the youth workers and the community ward and others kind of go around the parks in the evenings, you know, and you can engage with a lot of young people at the swings and various other sort of places. I think it's just sort of making the relationships, and
I wonder,
that's the
you know,
foundation.
does the youth of Selsey appreciate what's being done for them? Do they realise that this doesn't happen everywhere? Because it certainly doesn't.
Well, we find a lot of them are very responsive and appreciative. Of course, you get those who sort of take it for granted, but I guess most of us, when we were teenagers, took some things for granted.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just a generational thing.
I'd be the first one to raise my hand and say I did that.
You know, but no, we get a lot of feedback and a lot of goodwill. So and
by virtue of the fact that they actually use the service means that they...
Well,
you know,
they do, and I mean, it was interesting. I've just come from the bridge, and at break time, we had a group of girls who wanted to sort of come in. They'd got something they wanted to talk about, and then a group of Year 7 boys who just wanted to come in because they'd never been in there, and they just wanted to have a look. And that's gradually building the relationships, perhaps for when they do need support and help in different ways. Yeah,
no, that's fantastic, and long may it go on and prosper. And
we hope
blossom.
so. And one thing, just for Dennis's benefit, we have a young man who plays guitar, who did a kind of busking session last Thursday during break with some of his friends listening, and we're quite keen to develop that into a little music club, so that some of them can come and just, you know, enjoy an event together in that kind of way. Unless people listening view it as just for young people, we've actually been supporting a number of mums who've now decided to form themselves into a ladies' well-being group. And I've given permission for that as long as we have a commensurate men's group, because I think we believe in gender equality. I say that with a smile on my face, but we're just glad that it's developing for adults as well as young people.
well, it's great, and as you come in every month anyway and see us and update us, I'm sure we'll hear that it's going ahead, you know, in leaps and bounds, which it seems to be doing since it's opened.
It's certainly been a good start, and we want to build
Excellent.
on that. Yeah, thank you.
That's excellent stuff, and thanks for coming in, Mike.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I have with me now Gail Eisted, and Gail is the Practice Business Manager for the Seal Medical Group. And Gail's going to tell us what's going to be happening with the upcoming merger of the Seal and Selsey medical practices. They're emerging, obviously, into one group. And we're going to be asking lots of questions and probing and see what we can find out. Good morning, Gail.
Morning.
Now, I understand that both the Seal Medical Group and the Selsey Medical Centre, I think that's how they're both described.
Selsey Medical Practice.
That's yeah, sorry, I stand corrected. And you're going to merge.
We're going to merge with effect from the 1st of July.
From the 1st of July. Now, there are obvious questions. And the first one, of course, is how will this affect people getting appointments? Because it's difficult enough now to get appointments. And so is the merger in an effort to reduce that problem, or...?
The merger, that isn't the main source of the merger, obviously, to alleviate those problems. And what we will be doing, there's no cuts in services at all, so we will be, in effect, one big practice together, offering the same amount, if not more, appointments, because on each practice we've got different strength in clinicians, and there will be no loss of appointments at all, so there should be the same access for patients from both practices.
I think so. I can hear patients now saying that doesn't reassure me much at all, because I do know, I mean, trying to get an appointment at the moment, if you want to see a specific doctor, is usually about 10 days.
Yes, 10 days is for a routine appointment for 10 days. That would be really what you'd probably expect to wait. That isn't necessarily just because there isn't appointments, but most of the doctors aren't full-time, so they're not there 5 days a week. So most of them are there
is there
3
a,
or
is there
3.5
a reason
days.
for that?
No, just mainly some of them, some of the doctors work in other places. They work at the hospital, or they're just not choosing to work 5 days a week. So
I don't blame them. I only work 3 days a week, so why should they work 5?
Yeah, they don't. They work longer days as well. So they're working 8 till 6:30 is their time allowed. So they're working a lot longer.
Does this create a shortage of availability of doctors? The reason I ask is because I've heard it mentioned that, especially with the upcoming ASDA development, that's going to increase the amount of houses and the amount of people. Obviously, 800 to 1,000 extra people, perhaps. That the doctor surgery said that they can cope with that. Now, this came from the very early meetings that Landlink were holding, and I spoke to one of the chaps at one of the meetings, and he said to me, no, we've been in touch with the doctor surgeries, and the doctors assure us that they can cope with this increase. Now, that would appear to be not the case. And do we have a problem with getting doctors to work in Selsey? That
I really need to take that on too. That's kind of two big questions, really. In the first instance, 100 more patients across the 2 practices it was when we were asked there. So if you just, I don't know, you could say 60-40, 50-50, whichever way they decided to register, we could accommodate that within our practice. The more we get, obviously, it does make more difficult access for people. But we're not funded on that basis. So if we're funded on a capitation per patient basis, but it's not hundreds of thousands of pounds per patient. So 100 patients don't make one more doctor or even able to fund another nurse. So it isn't quite as straightforward and as simple as that. And of course, there are people registering with the health centre, but there's also people deregistering, because now people can register wherever they like. So quite a lot of people do register in Chichester where they work. So they're not using the services here. And also the way to look at it is that an awful lot of those patients may be very well patients. They're not necessarily 150 sick patients. So we look at it a little bit like that. If we talk about doctors' recruitment, we have had recruitment problems in Selsey, but this is a national crisis now for GP recruitment.
Why do you think we have a problem in Selsey with recruitment? I mean, it's not
just
a bad
Selsey.
Place to be in.
Yeah, it's not just Selsey at all. It is nationally across the whole of the West Sussex. Currently, there are a vast number of GP vacancies. It's not just Selsey at all. And it's a countrywide
because that's something
issue.
Also, we hear the government say, there's a national shortage of doctors, or there's a national shortage of nurses. Very, very few people actually see the kind of figures that there is a shortage of 150 doctors, 200 doctors in West Sussex, whatever the figures might be. We don't normally see those sort of figures, so we wouldn't know.
No.
It's just not something that we don't know how many fruit and veg merchants there are either.
No, exactly. And it's nothing that's in the press locally in that way, but we are part of the national crisis as well. It's a national recruitment crisis in GPs. Newly trained doctors are just not choosing to be general practitioners anymore. So that's part of the reason.
I can understand why. You get a load of old fossils turning up like me with their bad backs and their bits and bobs. It's, I wouldn't want to be there in their chair either. I've got to tell you. Now, will I still be able to see my usual doctor or nurse?
Yes, you can still request the same nurse that you have been seeing before, the same doctor, the same access. So at the moment, you can still phone the same telephone number, and you'll get through to the main reception. Okay. And we'll be the reception desks will be manned the same hours. Everything will still be the same. You should see very little difference. You'll still probably speak to the same ladies initially as well. But we do want to truly join and truly merge and integrate. So we've done a lot of work behind the scenes with the staff. So they're all mixing together. We've had lots of meetings with them, as well as the doctors and the clinicians.
I find that strange because you're all working in the same building, the 2 desks next to each other. But I can understand it.
Well, now though we're not. When you come in from the first, if you came in from today, you'll see that actually we've made the 3 desks in effect one big desk now, so we've knocked completely through.
Oh, right.
So you can actually, we're separating it out so that patients who want to book an appointment will go to one area. Patients who have got general inquiries or want to get some tests or drop something off or just ask anything general about their healthcare can go to an inquiry desk. And then the middle desk, which is the Sussex Community Trust, which also occupy the building with us. They look after the podiatrists and the physios. So her bookings will be separate, but she's still going to be now part of our overall reception desk.
Okay, and now another question that we've had in it is, can I see another doctor if I want to? So if I could answer that question because I see a different doctor every time I go. My outlook on it is, well, I assume they're all trained. So if you go and see one doctor or another doctor.
I mean, we like to think that if you have one particular problem that a doctor is helping you with, and it's something that needs to be seen maybe every 2 months or on a regular basis, then it is a good idea to stick with that doctor so that you're maximising your contact time. But I just want to reassure patients though as well that all your records are seen by the same doctor, so they see exactly the same on the screens in front of them all the time, and doctors write comprehensive notes about what they've observed from the time you attended last time, so they can look back on that and make sure that they're making the best decision onwards for your treatment as well.
Yes, I mean, I can understand, especially with a lot of elderly people that have been brought up with this, family doctor. They go and see the same doctor all the time, and he knows them personally, and he knows their problems, and this is what we were used to before we moved down to Selsey. And now each time I go in, I see a different doctor. It doesn't worry me particularly, but I can understand where people would say, well, if I was to see the same doctor every time, I wouldn't have to explain the same stuff every time because he would know from before.
You shouldn't really still need to explain because the notes are comprehensive, so all the observations are there and all the treatment plan is there. And if they've asked you to come back, they will explain in their write-up why they've asked you to come back. It should be quite clear. But we do try to say to patients, and this is where you need to think about taking ownership of making the next appointment onwards, maybe when you're leaving the surgery, because if people wait till they're in crisis, that's when we can't necessarily react so well. So we can't, if it's an urgent situation, we can't necessarily offer you the doctor that you would normally see. If it's an urgent situation, you need to see the doctor who's the duty on the day.
Once again, my outlook on that is that if it's an emergency situation, do you really care who you see? See a doctor.
And also we have nurse practitioners as well at the surgery, as well as a paramedic practitioner we have with us at the moment, and they're all very experienced.
I put out a big shout for the nurses at the practice because they're a good bunch. They really are. I've come across them in one way or another lots of times, and
they're very well experienced to deal with the things that people need to see urgently for or have some treatment for. Even your sore throats, your chest infections. They can look at all these things as well, and they always have the backup of the GPs at the surgery. So if you're booked with a nurse practitioner or a paramedic practitioner and you need to be seen by a doctor, they will then make that onward referral for you. So they'll probably go through and chat to somebody.
Now, will this affect any referrals to hospital?
No, everything that's in the system will carry on as is. We have made all the necessary arrangements with the local hospitals to say what will happen to people registered under our code. So they will all be changed at the hospital anyway, so they'll ring through.
Okay, and things like district nurses and midwives, same applies?
Same applies, yes. All the local providers of healthcare have been informed that we're joining. And as you say, we share the same building anyway. So we're quite used to passing over pieces of paper where the need is where
Another
it's
one
needed.
for you.
Yeah. So, and if I can reiterate, we have been two completely separate businesses and operating, but behind the scenes we share so much. We share common areas, we share staff rooms, we share kitchens, we share the toilets and everything. So behind the scenes we have there's a little runway behind that you don't see, but we're only separated by a fire door. So it's been quite nice to be able to open. We've been working behind the scenes for the last few months, and the last couple of weeks we have been opening the doors, so we're already feeling like we're working together. We see each other regularly, so it's
there are some of the secrets there, folks.
Yes,
when you can't find them, that's where they are, in that little room at the back having a cup of tea. But I have to say, I'm one of the right-hand siders But when you're sitting in there waiting to see a doctor or whatever, and the phones are incessant, they're non-stop ringing. How they keep their coolness about them, and
they're very well trained, the ladies on reception, and a very experienced bunch on both sides. Whether you're on the right, left, red or blue, they're all very experienced ladies who do a fantastic job, and they're backed up by fantastic admin teams behind the scenes as well. We have quite an army, really, of ladies that work at the health centre on both sides.
I mean, because all you
don't
see when we come in, you go to the desk, can I have an appointment, please? When would you like? Who would you like to see? That's it. That's all you see. You don't see the army of people that are doing all the rest of it.
One of the other things that's an advantage is we both use the same, what we call clinical IT systems. So there'll be no difference from that. So the access that patients all have online, so they may be ordering medication or booking appointments, that will stay the same. So we've been told by our IT provider that they will use the same passwords to do that. They may have to go in through the other system, the other practices website, which it has all been advertised, so that would be Selsey Medical Practices website, and then they'll be able to order prescriptions online or book appointments online.
Is that the online booking system? Is it used extensively?
It's used quite a lot.
Is it?
Yes, we get quite a lot of people, especially people who have got ongoing conditions that need to regularly come to have a review with a nurse or a doctor.
Oh, right.
And the medication is used a lot as well.
I mean, I knew it was there, but I've never used it. And I don't think I know anybody that has. But
I use it at my practice. I'm registered with a practice in Chichester, and I find it really useful because you can, you don't have to be in the queue for those appointments and on the phones first thing in the morning. You can do it any time of the day or night. So that's where it is quite handy. That's
the thing. When you can't sleep at night and you want to book yourself some sleeping pills, go on at 3 a.m. and you get them done.
No queue.
No queue that time of the day. Unless you've got an internet provider like I've got, because it won't be working at 3 o'clock in the morning. But we won't go there. So very little is going to change.
A lot's going to change from the point of view of what you see, but we hope that nothing's going to change. We're still going to be able to provide you with exceptional good healthcare and good access to GPs and nurses and
that obviously is the most important thing to anybody listening, is that they can get to see this is not going to create, for either side, and as I say either side, now we'll be one team, but they're not going to. It's not going to create less appointments or
not at all.
More difficulty in getting appointments.
No, you shouldn't see that much difference.
Because a lot of people are thinking, well, why are they doing it? They've been separate for all these years now. Why are they doing it? Is one of them short of doctors and wants to use the other one's doctors? Or I know it would be far more involved than that. But to simple folk like me, that's a question that you would ask. Well, why are they doing it? Why?
Well, the other thing is at the moment that obviously we were two very small practices in the realms of how big a GP practice is. So actually being together and being 12,000 patients is going to be able to enable us to offer a better service, we feel, in the long run. So we'll be able to really negotiate good services for patients and hopefully attract providers to come down so healthcare can be widely provided in Selsey, rather than, if you're just one practice of just 5,600, you haven't got such a big a voice as we will have together. So together we'll be stronger. We'll be a training practice, so we'll train GPs as well. So we'll be able to make sure that, we can attract a good quality of GP down to Selsey, because we do have to obviously plan for the future. The GPs, especially from our side at Seal Medical Group, for example, we had 2 GPs who were at retirement age. And, as everybody in Selsey knows, that's what you have to do. You plan for your retirement. We planned for their retirement. We just didn't plan to be part of the national recruitment crisis. That hasn't helped us. But, we did, as part of that, though, we did secure good services of 2. We had 2 salaried GPs for a while, and one of whom will go with us, and one of them who we knew wasn't going to be staying, but she said she would come and work with us for 8 months before she moved back abroad. So it wasn't because she didn't want to stay, that was her plan. And like us all, GPs are exactly like the rest of us. They have life plans and families to factor into.
I just can't understand why they want to live anywhere else other than Selsey.
No, it is a mystery.
It's because there's too many sick people down there.
I don't know that's just Selsey. I think that the South Coast as a whole is.
Yeah, it's because it's where people retire to. You can't help that if you've got a town where the average age is about 60. You're going to have far more people.
There's a lot of very healthy, elder, more mature people here, should we say? They don't all come here to be sick, though. No, there's lots of very healthy people in Selsey, and we hope we play their part in keeping them healthy and fit as well.
Well, that's right, and I'm sure that those of us that use the services of the doctors quite extensively, as I do, are very grateful for it.
The other thing I think we'd like to make sure that people are aware of as well, that we will have a very active patient participation group that looks after the interests of patients, because we appreciate in the next few weeks we won't have got it completely right. We've planned for every eventuality we think might happen, but we're hoping to be able to be quite reactive to things if we can put things right quite quickly for getting through on phones. We think we've talked to BT and everything's working fine, but we do understand that gremlins do get into the works.
So there'll now be one check-in where you come in and
there'll be one screen. There'll be two screens. There's still going to be there'll be three screens where you can still access. But as you come in from Wednesday morning onwards, you'll see it'll look a little bit different, but they'll still be the same place. We have some ladies who are going to be front of house to show people things on Wednesday, so that if and ongoing, not just Wednesday. And also the Friends of the Health Centre are going to be there as well, because they've been really instrumental in enabling us to do some of the work and some of the changes to the reception area, and buying some medical equipment, so we make sure we've got...
How many members have you got in the Friends of the... Because obviously there was two now, they'll be joined.
No, there's only one Friends group. The Friends group sat overarching both practices.
Oh, okay.
They're the Friends of the Health Centre. I'm not quite sure how many members they've got at the moment, but they're always looking for new.
So we can get some more members for that.
That would be fantastic. They're going to have a presence on Wednesday as well. They're going to have, I think they're planning to have a tombola outside and trying to recruit some members, because membership isn't a costly thing, but if everybody did, it would be fantastic.
It's only a couple of quid or something.
£2, yes. And they do some great things, and they provide a lot of things for us that, extras that the health service funding doesn't necessarily provide for. So we're in the luxurious position of having extra blood pressure monitors or 24-hour BP monitors, which means that we can offer them out to patients a lot more regular than we could do if we just had them for the ones we were funded for.
So there we are, folks. You need to get down to the doctors and become a friend of the practice for a couple of quid a year. It makes such a difference.
It makes a big difference. I mean, the Friends were instrumental in building the whole and furnishing the whole of the health centre when we moved from the old St Peter's Crescent site, and they created a lot of funding for that, and they still help us greatly now. And but I do know that they do need more numbers.
Well, there we go. We'll try and get some for you.
Thank you.
Well, Gal, thank you very much for coming in and putting our mind at rest, and the mind of the patients as well as mine. And I'm sure it'll all go ahead without any problems whatsoever. And I look forward to my next visit to the doctors, actually, to see what the changes are.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Obviously, as we move forward and on the 1st, everybody will be welcome to come to see us. We're obviously hoping that Selsey stays healthy, but if you're not healthy, we hope we provide excellent services for you in the future.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
and welcome to another edition of Video Watch with Dennis Cowan. Yes, me, I'm back, and I shall be reviewing old and new DVDs, plus the top 20 as supplied by Steve Saunders at Reflex DVD in High Street, and then I shall take a trip over to Andy's at the Selsey off license to do the remainder of the videos. So there we are. We begin today's films with Gallow Walkers. It's a 15 rated film and it is 2013. It stars Wesley Snipes and Patrick Bergin. It's a strange film for Snipes and not one he fits into very comfortably. As they often say, he seems to just walk through this. It could have been better if the plot wasn't so restricted to the western wastelands. Basically, it's about a man who is cursed and causes a breed of the undead to wreak havoc and sets out to get them. Partly horror and nothing like the Blade films he was in. We then move on to Arctic Blast. It's a PG rated, which means everyone can see, in the family that is, starring Bruce Davison, a face you will have seen in X-Men and US TV detective series. This is a budget situation, probably made for TV. It's all about the ozone layer being breached and there is a freeze about to come and cover the world and bring it to a catastrophe. There's been quite a few disaster movies made since the 2012 one, and this one isn't terribly bad. It's good quality, the effects are on the cheap side, and all the family can view it, as I said. We then move on to Annabelle, a more recent film, 2014. It's 15 rated. It's a horror yarn which features a doll, not exactly Chucky, and it does finally move in one scene. So as you keep waiting to see whether the doll actually turns, you do get one moment. As horrors go, this is okay, and it has its moments. It does attempt to link itself to The Conjuring. Beyond this, it does fulfill its role in being supernatural. That's a 15 rating. And then we go on to Beautiful Creatures 2003, starring Rachel Weisz and Susan Lynch. They are playing a kind of Selma and Louise. It's 18 rated, so beware of that, as they go on a spree of murder, blackmail and robbery. And there is a suitcase containing $1 million in cash. It is described as a comedy thriller lasting nearly 90 minutes, so give it a try, rent or buy, and you won't be disappointed. It also co-stars Alex Norton of the Taggart series. We then move on to the next one, and this is the old tale of Ned Kelly. It's 2003, it's rated 15. And this one stars Orlando Bloom and Heath Ledger. And this version is much better than that which starred Mick Jagger, who actually did his best to be acknowledged as an actor. This deals with the colonial authorities' awfulness heaped upon the Aborigines, etc., and the brutality shown by the police serving the Crown. As we are well aware, the Empire hunted down this Ned Kelly gang. This has many scenes of violence, thankfully not always strong in retelling this legend, so if you fancy that, Ned Kelly and Australia, and we're staying with Australia for the next one. And this is a kind of semi-horror film called Razorback, made in 2005, and it is 18 rated. We have a sort of horror tale in that there is a creature and it is a massive wild boar. The effects are quite reasonable for the time and the story quite tight. It's in a sort of Mad Max meets the Hills Have Highs mentality. The goodies of the piece try to capture the giant beast after it hunts down human prey, whilst the hillbilly types seem and serve to intimidate and balk all investigations. There's not much sign of cops in this. It mainly features a grandfather and Beth, an animal rights activist, who get drawn into this watchable tale. So go for that one if you like a nice creature feature. And then we go on to Noah, a more recent film, 2014, starring Russell Crowe and Ray Winston. At just over 2 hours, the film manages to impress, especially with the visual effects, industrial light and magic. It is up to now the sort of best retelling of Noah's Ark, getting down to the nitty-gritty and going for the action, etc. Emma Watson of Harry Potter and Anthony Hopkins are in the mix to give it class and a reason for being a big budget feel. It doesn't exactly stick to the book and turns the story into an action-packed delight. So if you're into Spider-Man, Harry Potter, Pirates of the Caribbean and 2012, etc., this should appeal to you, albeit a biblical story vamped up. We now move on to the top 20 and from the 25th of June, and this is supplied by Steve Saunders of Reflex DVD in Selsey High Street. We have at number 1, Kingsman. At number 2, we have 50 Shades of Grey, so it's making its way up, is that one? At 3, we have got Taken, and that is Liam Neeson up to it again. He's back again for the 3rd time. In this one, he's framed for the murder of his ex-wife, and he must find those that actually did it. At number 4, we've got Mordecai. At 5, we've got Out of the Dark. And then at 6, we've got The Interview. At 7, there's American Sniper still there. At 8, we've got The Loft. And this is a 15 rated thing. Carl Urban and James Marsden. And they enter into a conspiracy of silence to cover up their indulgence in fantasy delight. 5 married men use the loft in a high-rise building, a corporate building that is, and their joy is suddenly interrupted by a woman's death, and they all start to suspect each other of murder. And then at number 9 we have Addicted. At number 10 we have Stretch. At number 11 we have The Kidnapping of Freddie Heineken. At 12 we have Vice. At 13 we have Shaun the Sheep. At 14 The Gambler. At 15 Big Hero 6. And at 16 we have Black Sea, and this is a 15 rated movie starring Jude Law. It's an adventure thriller. This concerns a rogue submarine captain and treasure, which causes tension, greed, and eventually on them all turning against each other. At 17 we've got The Age of Kill. At 18 we've got Wild. At 19 we have Selma. And at 20 we've got Annie. So there you are, there's the top 20, and we are featuring a film from Steve, and I reviewed this one called The Pyramid. It's always hard to follow The Mummy in terms of effects and casting, so this one had to go beyond the usual, especially as it boasted no A-list stars. The pace was good and the use of minimal scenes helped this. It was predictable as it followed similar setups employed by other horror films. The CGI and makeup effects worked well for most of the movie. It's a pity they had to go in for a close-up. The creature theme was different, especially as it stuck to the Egyptian gods and pharaohs. So horror-wise, you could say it was sort of on the moderate side, really. We now move along to Andy's at Selsey Off Licence, and we have a look at what films Andy has got for his customers, and that means you. And the first one is Frankie Go Boom. This is a 15 rated film starring Chris O'Dowd, and Frankie, played by Charlie Hunnam, has been the victim of torture and humiliation by his brother for most of his life, until a disastrous upload of a video goes viral on the internet and trouble hits the fan. This co-stars Ron Perlman playing a transsexual of all things, so get a look at that if you want a bit of fun in it. And then we move on to a film called The Cold Light of Day. This is a 15 rated movie, and this stars Bruce Willis and Sigourney Weaver. It's a thriller, mainly set in Spain, and the story is a family is kidnapped by seemingly intelligence agents who are trying to get a briefcase. The father of the family goes on the run, and a chase through Madrid ensues. So without saying much more about that one, get that one out if you fancy that. And then we go to the next film, which is called A Million Ways to Die in the West. And this is a 15 rated film, and of course with mean West, we mean Cowboy West. And this stars Liam Neeson, Charlize Theron and Seth MacFarlane in a sort of comedy western set in the time 1882, featuring sheep, an outlaw and a beautiful woman. And comic violence erupts, so there you are. Have a look at that one if you fancy the cowboy stuff. And then we go to Andy's film of the week to be reviewed, and this is the number one film, as it happens, called Kingsman. A thoroughly terrific film, having seen it. And this is a 15 rating starring Michael Caine and Colin Firth. And for those who went to see Star Wars and Luke Skywalker, there is a small role by Mark Hamill, who never attained the stardom that everyone thought he would. Instead, it was Harrison Ford that came out on that. This film is big bucks, partly English and American, and hugely enjoyable. This is a great action piece with some super effects. The story develops nicely, turning the viewer into backing the good guy, who is a young guy who turns from being a novice to an agent, an unlikely wise kid who makes good, and it really is a super film. So yes, The Kingsman is waiting for you at the Selsey off license, and so is the wine and your crisps, etc. So go there and get yourself an evening in with wine, crisps and this terrific action film. And one more thing we have to say for Andy is that he now does the DPD pickup of parcels. It's a pick-up and drop-off point, so for people who need somewhere for a delivery they won't be in for, they can use the service at Andy's off license. So that's it. That's the end of the review of the films. Well, join me again for another batch of videos next week, and it's bye from me. Bye-bye.
And that just leaves me to say a great big thank you to you for listening, to our contributors Gail Eisted and Mike Nichols, and from the team, which is John Fletcher Production, Dennis Cowan, Sound and Studio, Lynn Reeves, lots of other bits, and from myself, Keith Barnes, wishing you a lovely coming week, and see you again next week. Bye bye for now. Bye now.